Hello there, the good person of Tune-Towne at your service. So, it's been a while since my last upload, and I was wondering, what should I do next? So I decided to make this. I'm actually a huge Pixar fan. I grew up on their films, I've been watching them for as long as I can remember, I went to see them, and one of the studio's best works is Brad Bird's 2004 masterpiece, The Incredibles. I mean, I presume everyone who is watching this has seen that film, but if not, what the hell are you doing here? Go watch it, experience it for yourself. It's a great movie. But I wanted to make a video to put a common fan request to bed. Loads of people, including several YouTubers I respect, they feel like the second film, which I personally love just as much as the first, by the way, you can quote me on that, should have had a time skip rather than starting immediately where the first film left off. I'll just play these videos to show you what I'm talking about.
But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in what sort of story they were going to tell here. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized the huge gap of time between movies opened a door to many possibilities. By the time the movie came out, it had been 14 years since the first one. Would they age up the characters? Would Dash and Violet be adults now, and Jack a teenager? Would Bob and Helen be in their mid-50s? How would they evolve the setting? What would the world be like now that supers were accepted again? There's so many things that they could do.
Incredibles 2 is one of those sequels I didn't know I wanted to see. Oh, don't get me wrong, like everyone, I wanted an Incredibles sequel. But after so many years of waiting, I kinda wanted to see the family a little grown up. Maybe the parents are even older, Violet's going to college, Dash is going to high school, Jack enters kindergarten while also discovering his powers and whether or not he should use them. Like, this is some really interesting stuff.
The same way Incredibles 2 did, and then the movie came out and it's really divisive. I don't know, I think it's fine. But that was a sequel that was long overdue, in a franchise that feels like it's built for a ton of adventures. That being said, it's time to bring on Incredibles 3. Regardless of how 2 turned out, I think people will always be down for more Incredibles, so long as Brad Bird is still involved. However, I would want a third film to progress these characters in a meaningful way. Have them actually age up with the audience, instead of keeping them all at the exact same ages they were in the original. I think part of why The Incredibles 2 was so disappointing to people was that a lot of viewers waited 14 years to see what happens next, only to get a pretty predictable storyline that took place the very next day. And sure, people were begging for the sequel to open up where the first film left off. So between that and recognizable designs, I see why they felt the need to set it relatively close to the first film. But come on, it was 14 years, man! Have them defeat the Underminer, then give us a year or two time skip. But hey, even though they didn't do it in 2018, it doesn't mean it's too late for them now. If they dropped a teaser for the third Incredibles and the family looked visibly older, the hype would immediately be off the charts. And I think this franchise is capable of more compelling stories, but you do need to age up these characters in order to deliver the best version of these stories. For example, a big part of the first film was Bob still struggling to adapt to just being a 9-to-5 citizen. He could not let go of the superhero life. So what if Incredibles 3 takes place a few years later, Bob and Helen are getting older, and they know they're not too far off from retirement. Actual retirement. And now Bob is putting all of this pressure on Dash and Violet to be the best heroes they can be, simply because he's afraid of what the world will look like when Mr. Incredible is truly out of the picture. What if Dash and Violet are in high school, experiencing young love, dating people who don't have superpowers, and we get the incredible spin on the risk that accompany dating somebody who doesn't know your secret identity. Although honestly, I think it'd be a bit more interesting if Violet had this storyline than Dash. I feel like a Dash version of that storyline would be him dating someone only to find out that they're also a soup, and hijinks would ensue from there. Also, how do Jack's powers progress as he grows older? Bro can't be a baby forever, Pixar. Let him age. Let them all age.
I feel this movie was limited by its weird insistence to take place directly after the first movie. I feel they should have aged up the characters. Show a slightly more modern version of this world, where the supers are now legal. Show Dash and Violet in their 20s, maybe Violet's about to get married or something and she's going through a marriage conflict. Have Bob and Helen be in their mid-50s, dealing with being older and not being able to perform the same hero duties they could before, and maybe are starting to contemplate retirement. Maybe have Bob have a moment where he realizes he isn't truly invincible, and his cracks start to show as he gets older. Have Jack be a teenager in school. Maybe he's like a hotshot there, because he has so many powers that he likes to show off. And they're in a world now where supers don't have to hide their powers anymore. What kind of issues would he be going through? All of this sounds super interesting. And I think most of us would have wanted that. And it'd be in character for Pixar too.
I do agree it would be a good idea, wouldn't it? You know, Violet's off to college, Dash is off to high school, Violet's about to get married, the kids are getting older, Bob and Helen are getting older and they can't do stuff anymore. It's a good way of continuing the story, isn't it? Well, forget it. Because as much as it makes narrative sense, it ain't happening. Because the whole point of the film is that the Pars don't get older. They stay the same age forever. Brad Bird has said this point several times over the years in his interviews, which I will leave in the description. Here. From Entertainment Weekly, from the film when the second film came out in 2018. To me, that's a much more common idea. And I think that part of the intent of The Incredibles is to capture people and how their powers connected with the way they are at a certain age, and their roles in the family. That was actually the kind of the aha idea for me when I thought of the original film. One visit to the comic book shop for half an hour dissuaded me from thinking that I was ever going to invent some great new power. I mean, every power known to man, somebody's done somewhere. Even if a guy self-published 100 issues of whatever man, so very quickly I realized that I didn't care that much about the powers. What I did care about was that they were a family. And that was a very liberating idea. Men were expected to be strong, so I made the dad super strong. Mothers are pulled in 20 different directions at once, so I had her be elastic. Teenage girls are defensive and shy and insecure, so I made Violet invisible and gave her force fields. 10-year-olds are little energy balls, so I made Dash super fast. And babies are unknown, so Jack either has no powers or every power in the universe, because babies are all about possibility. So if you age them up, then they're just powers, and that's not interesting. End quote. So there you go. I mean, I do agree with the other YouTubers, but I also agree with Bird. That's one thing I've always admired about Pixar with all of its sequels it makes. They don't always succumb to what the fans want. They march to the beat of their own drum, and they do what's best for the story they want to tell. Which, another example like this, of course, would be Monsters, Inc., because, you know, everyone wants to see Boo grow up. But, instead they decide to make a Animal House film set during Mike and Sully's college years, which, because they think that's a better idea. I do like Monsters University as well, and all the Pixar sequels. Yes, even Cars 2 and Lightyear. Same with the Pars not growing up. But, now I hand it off to you. Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, au revoir.